Hey guys, Kevin Miner again, and I'm going to be reviewing something a little bit different this time. I'm going to be reviewing the new video game Resident Evil 6. Okay, so before I even get into this, I would like to point out I am a giant survival horror fan. I love it. I love Clock Tower. I love Silent Hill. I love Resident Evil. I've been a huge fan since about the time I could pick up a video game controller and play. So, with that being said, I know a lot of people kind of have some speculation and don't really enjoy Resident Evil 6 as much as the other games because they're like, oh, it isn't scary. Oh, it isn't, you know, it isn't like Resident Evil 5, there isn't enough action. I think this game has something for everyone, and something that all of the fans within the Resident Evil spectrum can enjoy. So, let's get started. First off, there are four playable campaigns along with the Mercenaries mode, and this gives the player a wide array of different options about what they want. If you want more survival horror, there's Leon's campaign, who was introduced in Resident Evil 4, one of my favorite games of all time. I fucking love that game. I've played it at least 20 times, still do with my girlfriend, don't care. I will play it till the day I die. Right up there with Final Fantasy VII, and that is saying something if you know me. So, on that note, Leon's campaign, you start out with this girl Helena, who is new to the Resident Evil franchise, and it's what you would expect from a campaign that involves Leon. It's very like zombies jump out at you, you have to kill them. They're over the top boss battles. Ada Wong's there to help you out. Um Overall, I think his campaign really shines through, and I think they did a great job making the survival horror aspect come to life with that new aspect of having you be able to walk and shoot, having a little bit more action oriented than the older games, but I still think fantastic. Moving on, the second campaign you were able to do is Jake, and you see a familiar face that you haven't seen in a long time, Sherry. I saw the commercial and I was like, holy shit, Sherry's back? And she's old? Well, not old, she's like Jake's age, but like, even so, it's like, she's a badass zombie killer? Oh my god. Like, and Jake's, campaign is more geared towards people who like more action. There are a lot of times during his campaign that you have to run from different creatures, and there's like a sneaking element to it and stuff, and I think it's really cool. I think they did an interesting way of doing it. There are a few scenes where you actually have to like drive a motorcycle, and at one point you have to get Sherry back because she's hanging off a helicopter. She's like, "Help me, Jake!" And you're like, "I got you." And you're just like driving like a badass, and you jump up off the ramp, and you just catch her, and it's just like awesome. And during that, you intersect with Leon and Chris's campaigns, which I think is a really cool way of doing it. And so, yeah, I think it's really solid. And at the end, spoiler: if you haven't played the game yet, don't listen to this. Okay, but anyway, Jake is Wesker's son. Which, when Wesker died, I was like, no, I don't want him to die. Which made me sad. And so, having Wesker's son, he's Jake's smart ass, and it's hilarious. And he's so much like Wesker. And he's just such a badass. Like, you get hand-to-hand fighting with him, you just walk up to these infected, you're just like, fuck you! And just like beating the shit out of him. It makes you feel like a badass. And at the end, you see Sherry on a plane, and you're like, where the fuck's Jake? And he's like down the runway, and he's on a motorcycle, like, I'm a fucking badass. And then he puts on these sunglasses, and he looks just like Wesker. And I was like, yeah. Yeah. And so, moving on to the third campaign, Chris's. I've never been a big fan of Chris. Well, I've never been a big fan of Chris since Resident Evil 5. I found that Resident Evil 5 was more almost Gears of War-esque. Like you ran up, hid behind shit. It was very action-oriented. There wasn't really any parts where I was like, shit! Like in the old video games, like I would freak the fuck out. Well, then again, I'm also X amount of years older, but there are times in Jake's and Leon's campaign I jumped. Chris's is just kind of like you go through, you kill shit. It's very, if you're trying to get into the series in this game, it's very much geared towards those players. It's very more player accessible in the fact that you get guns that you would regularly see. Your partner in this campaign is also a new addition to the Resident Evil franchise. Piers, and there's some parts that are very dramatic. Like Piers is like, Captain, don't do it. Like everybody just basically wants to suck Chris's dick. It annoys me. So honestly, Chris's, but Jake's and Leon's I love. And then once you beat those, you unlock Ada Wong's campaign, which is very centered around sneaking more so than the others, and it's very based around like you're helping the other characters throughout the game in parts that you didn't even know Ada was involved in, which I thought was a great way to tie it all together and give you the full experience of the whole storyline. So that's all I really got to say about that. Mercenaries, it's more accessible than the Resident Evil 4 and Resident Evil 5 Mercenaries in the fact that you can actually run and shoot. That's basically it. It's basically you just go around, kill whatever comes out, get points, see if you can get the high score, see if you can get an S rating, A rating, whatever. So the game overall has some great moments, and I really can't find anything wrong with it. And I know a lot of people disagree with me on this, but I think they're going in a more interesting direction than what they had before. They're making it a lot more story oriented, whereas the last couple games were kind of just like didn't have the greatest stories. I mean, I love 4, 5's. I feel like lacking. I feel like there's plot holes, but that's my opinion. So I really think this game's really solid, and I think it's a good addition to the Resident Evil franchise. And so, with that being said, I would give it a solid 8, 8.5 out of 10. There are some parts where the normal gameplay gets a little bit monotonous, but I think overall they did a great job with it. Very greatly exceeded my expectations for this video game. So if you're a diehard Resident Evil fan who enjoyed 5 or enjoyed 4, maybe didn't really enjoy 5 that much, I think this will be a relieving breath of fresh air for you because you do get the survival horror elements back, which they did very well for not having it for a little bit or having less survival horror in the last game. But if you disagree, comment below. If you agree, comment below. If you want to make a video of yourself replying to this and screaming at me at the top of your lungs, make a video response. And if you like what you are watching, you can watch my other videos. And you can, of course, subscribe and like this video. Or dislike it. Whatever. So, anyway, this is Kevin Miner, like always. Stay rocking, everyone. Have a great day. Don't get eaten by zombies. It fucking hurts.